Wanking in the Lake District by Eric Thistlethwaite. Wank 87. Tanner Trail to Tatamagouche. It's a lovely day as I board the number 69 to Tatamagouche. My bus route today will take me through the very beating heart of Nova Scotia, from the iconic Elsie Tanner Trail, past the Whispering Winds family campground with its ropeless swings and rusted-to-fuck roundabouts, and up past the giant tiger on the left. We'll arrive in a brisk 2.5 hours at the delightful seaside resort of Tatamagouche, where it is said, well, nothing much is said about Tatamagouche, because it's a bit of a shithole apparently. But it does have 3.5 stars on Google, so that has to count for something. I feel a tight squeeze as we rumble up the Eastern Passage. Oh, it's not coming from the usual place, no. I shook my rattle in the bushes behind the bus stop right before I hopped aboard. Delightful. No, it's my rumbly tummy that's got me all in a tither. I blame the breakfast on flight 8675309. I tried to flush the mush down the airplane toilet, but there were barely room to choke a sausage. After a good 25 minutes tapping my fork and scraping my plate, I were hauled out by the head steward and fettered in a pair of plastic handcuffs. Still, lunch weren't too bad. Eagle-eyed listeners will have noted that I am rambling far from home today. Indeed, I find myself not in the crags and crannies of the Cotswolds or the drumlins and dykes of the Dales, but roaming the cliffs and coves of Canada, England's pathetic friend. Why am I in Canada, you may ask? Well, regular listeners will recall that unfortunate incident with a cattle prod and a Yorkshire hog narrated in Wank 27 Bradford to Bingley. The local constabulary were unimpressed by my protestations, and although it did take the volunteer fire marshal 7.5 hours to remove the 3.5-foot prod, it was clear that a tumble in the hay had caused the errant insertion, and the hog was merely licking my wounds in an effort to soothe my considerable pain. And so, with summons in hand, I elected to evade the inevitable prison sentence with a well-earned vacation. So here I am. But why Canada? Well, my destination was arrived at not through a particular affinity for maple syrup or simple-minded lumberjacks, but a perfectly innocent Bing search confusion. Who knew that Canada was such a big fan of the eager beaver? We trundle along through the mean streets of Sackville and Timberlea on our way to the Tatamagouche Trail. The Tatamagouche Trail is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, according to the municipal website. I suspect that may be because nobody ever goes back, but I'll give it a fair shake, and I mean that quite literally. Apparently, the Tatamagouche Trail is exceedingly remote and very bushy, and that'll do for me. After an uneventful hour of soporific scenery, evidently Nova Scotia is little more than rocks and lakes and trees, we alight at the Hooters Bar and Grill next to the Quality Inn. Barry, our bald as a baboon bus driver, informs us that we are stopping for a bathroom break. Oh, the frightful alopecia must have read my mind. After all the bumps and grinds along the badly tarmac byways of Nova Scotia, I am more than ready to void my ducks and clean my pipes. And I'm not talking about taking a piss. I stride up to the pub and look up at the raggedy flag lying limp against the pole. Its listless demeanour is in direct contrast to the rigidity of my shaft. I have a right throb on. My mighty mast is caused in part by a clerical confusion in relation to the restaurant sign. The letter S is, unbeknownst to me, absent without leave, and so, as I enter Shooter's Bar and Grill, I am greeted not by a perky lass in a form-fitting t-shirt with a tawny owl, no, but by Sonia, a matronly old hag in a neck brace and a woolen shawl. Sonia's stare is molten lava, like a splatter of red-hot magma burning into my soul. As she marches me to my table, I hear the telltale rustle of an incontinence pad and feel a flutter and a flap as my flag slides gently down the pole. Oh well. I order a plate of deep-fried scallops, and after a few angry mouthfuls I know I need not worry about asking the miserable matron for an enema of a food, which the old man next to me insists is pronounced scallops like I give a fuck, succeeds in voiding my intestines with alarming efficiency. By the time I hop back on the bus, my ringhole feels like a fiery portal spun by Doctor Strange. Or is it Captain America? I can never remember. Barry, the bald-ass bus driver, gets us back underway with a toot of his horn and barely a passing glance at the elderly couple running alongside, hammering on the door. And in no time at all, we are trundling past the Montague gold mine and Barney's pumpkin farm. I smiled to myself as we passed the little copse of trees buffeting the raggedy barn. I used to spend countless hours scrumping in Farmer Thackett's orchard as a lad. Me and Gary Fisher would hop the fence in the wee hours of the night and fill our little plastic netto bags with all manner of sugary splendour. There aren't so many pumpkins in the dales, but Farmer Thackett did have a penchant for sumptuous Swedes and plump plums. Poor old Gary was merrily intent on scoffing down as much as he could on account of his chronic malnourishment. His man worked at the local Help the Aged, but I had other things on my mind. One squeeze of an ever so gently bruised Mirabelle plum, and I was ready to be juiced. At the back end of the pumpkin farm I spy a fulsome-looking swine. It's a Berkshire hog, slurping in her trough. Hello, lady. How did you wander so far from home? I pull out my 3-ply cottonelle and place a tidy wad on my lap. By the time we reach the Pine Grove Cemetery in the dead centre of town, I am just about ready to oink. Ooh. We trundle past the world-famous Truro Mall with its Source Electronics and Wung Express and take a left at Sugar Moon Farm. And then, here we are, the end of the road. Everybody off barks Barry as he kicks open the doors. How did he know, I wonder, as I scoop up my wad. There's a little seepage, I notice, and some spillage in the footwell. Oh dear. In the words of Elvis Costello's sappy 1980s anthem, Allison, my aim is true, usually. And when it isn't, well, I just run. I scuttle down the stairs and dive headfirst into the woods. Behind me I hear Barry hollering, "What did you do to my seat?" I would have thought that were obvious, but I don't intend to hang about and explain. I jog up the path. As I round the corner I come face to face with a twitcher. Oh hell, I hate twitchers. The whole point of birds and insects is that they don't keep still. So why these people stand about blocking the trails, clad in their herringbone tweed and purple cagoules, I have no idea. The old dear is holding up her phone and ogling a red-bellied woodpecker in a Eurasian blue. She takes a couple of quick snaps, then watches him fly away. I tip my cap as I squeeze past, and she holds up a hand and shows me her screen. "What do you think?" she says, straightening up her blouse. "Oh, that's a lovely pair of tits," I reply as I squint at the yellow-bellied bosoms and speckled featherbacks. "Well, thank you," she replies, scurrying away. "Have a nice day." I emerge at the other end of the path in the centre of town. Blimey, my instincts were correct. Tatamagouche is indeed a shithole. There's no way I'll be coming back. I turn towards a shimmering light, beckoning me from beyond the bicycle graveyard on my left. As I walk past the yard, I see a Cannondale Super 6 with a badly masticated derailleur propped up against the fence. What travesty caused this? Poor maintenance. Probably all it takes is a couple of loose screws. The old girl never stood a chance. I squint at the sign up ahead. Hooters? Really? Fool me once. I walk a little closer. Yes, that's definitely a capital H. As I flap through the double doors and tip my cap to Tina, it occurs to me that although I may be a million miles from home in a strange and foreign land, there are so many things that bring us closer together as a species and help to bridge the cultural gap. You know, like a pair of nice tits. I take my seat and order a pint of Guinness and a plate of scallops. It is 7:30 in the evening. I'm on the other side of the world, and I have a right throb on.